already knew that Stephanie Bonehead White is not the coach for damn mind. And now with these recent comments from Caitlin Clark, we know Stephanie White is.
This whole situation just blew up in Stephanie White's face. And honestly, she walked right into it. Caitlin Clark has essentially told the entire basketball world exactly how she wants to evolve her game, and it's the complete opposite of everything her coach believes in. This mess is getting worse by the day, and somebody needs to address it before it destroys the entire season.
See this last night, Fever superstar Caitlin Clark joining the NBC Sunday Night Basketball pregame show. She was a special contributor for last night's Lakers-Knicks game.
You can see her here alongside Pacers legend Reggie Miller. She is back on NBC March 29th when the Knicks play the Thunder in OKC.
Here's how this disaster unfolded. Caitlin Clark was doing her analyst work for NBC during a Lakers game when she was asked an obvious question. Which NBA player does she study the most as she looks to incorporate elements of their game into her own? For a player at her level, the question made perfect sense. Her answer was immediate: Luka Doncic. She went on to explain how incredible he is as both a scorer and a facilitator. What truly stood out to her wasn't his speed or explosiveness, but how he manipulates defenders exactly where he wants them. He claims space and uses every inch of the floor to his advantage. Clark admitted that she often avoids contact and runs away from the defense when she should be doing the opposite. It's taking up space and forcing defenders to deal with her presence. It was a smart, self-aware observation from a player who is constantly looking to evolve her game.
You're a player or someone you watch even more specifically because there's things in his game maybe you would want to add to yours in the league?
Man, I think Luka. Luka's amazing and he's incredible. I think the way he can not only score the ball, but also the way he passes. And I think the thing about him is, he's not the fastest, he's not the most athletic, but he can get a defender to move where he wants him to go, and he takes up that space, and he does a really good job of either keeping the defender behind him or keeping him to the side. So I think that's something I can certainly learn from. I always kind of want to run away from the defense rather than absorbing the contact and taking up the space that they give me. So I think obviously he's pretty incredible. He averages like a 30-point triple-double, so he makes it look pretty easy, but I can promise you it's not that easy.
Yeah.
That answer made complete sense. Luka Doncic is absolutely brilliant at controlling pace and generating offense through pure skill rather than elite athleticism. For someone like Caitlin Clark, who already thrives as both a scorer and a passer, this is ideal development territory. Studying how Luka manipulates space, defenders, and tempo is a natural next step for a player looking to elevate her game even further. But here's where everything starts to unravel. Stephanie White fundamentally disagrees with that style of basketball, and there's documented proof. During a Mavericks broadcast, when Luka was sidelined with an injury, White openly criticized his approach on live television. She highlighted how differently Dallas moves the ball without him on the floor, pointing to his high usage rate and how much he dominates possessions. She then praised how the ball zips around, how everyone stays involved, and how the offense appears more fluid when Luka isn't controlling everything. The implication was clear. White was essentially arguing that the Mavericks play a more aesthetically pleasing, team-oriented brand of basketball when their best player isn't dictating the flow. And that belief stands in direct opposition to the very model Caitlin Clark is publicly identified as the blueprint for her own evolution.
Wants to learn from.
Already knew that Stephanie Bonehead White is not the coach for Caitlin Clark. Can Stephanie White coach the game of basketball? Yes, but is she the right coach for Caitlin Clark? Probably absolutely not. I don't think she is at all. I don't want her anywhere near Caitlin Clark. Okay? Once you decided to, you put that girl at small forward in a damn basket.
What she is really attacking is obvious. She hates ball-dominant players who control possessions and create through individual brilliance. She wants constant ball movement and shared responsibility. That is a direct criticism of everything Caitlin Clark just said she admires about Luka's approach. The disconnect could not be more glaring. This becomes absolutely ridiculous when you realize what Stephanie White is actually criticizing. Caitlin Clark herself runs a high-usage offense. Her entire identity revolves around having the ball in her hands and creating opportunities for everyone else. That is what made her special at Iowa, and what made her rookie season must-watch basketball. Now, her coach is on record saying she does not respect that approach to the game. How is this partnership supposed to work when they have completely opposite philosophies about effective basketball? Caitlin wants to become more like Luka Moore, control over possessions. It's better at dictating tempo and more creative in isolation situations. Stephanie White clearly wants the opposite: lower usage rates, constant ball movement, and shared offensive responsibilities. These are not minor disagreements about strategy. This is a fundamental opposition about how basketball should be played at the highest level. Stephanie White has already shown her hand in how she has been handling the Fever. She is trying to make Aaliyah Boston the focal point of the offense instead of Caitlin, running motion sets that require endless passing rather than letting Caitlin create magic in space. She is actively working to reduce Caitlin's involvement, which is backwards thinking. The Fever had one of the most explosive offenses in the league during the second half of last season. After the Olympic break, they were appointment television. Caitlin was destroying defenses with pick and rolls, draining deep threes, threading impossible passes, completely taking over games when necessary. The offense flowed naturally, and the wins kept piling up. Nobody complained about the system because it worked perfectly. Then Stephanie White arrived and decided everything needed to change. She brought in that Connecticut Sun style of play, where the ball runs through Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin becomes just another moving part. That is not what anyone wants to see. Fans are not buying tickets to watch Aaliyah Boston post up or Kelsey Mitchell catch and shoot. They are coming to see Caitlin Clark dominate basketball games. Stephanie White seems determined to prevent exactly that from happening. The small forward experiment alone should have ended her coaching credibility immediately. Taking the most dynamic point guard in women's basketball and sticking her at small forward is either complete incompetence or deliberate sabotage. Neither option is acceptable. The fact that it happened at all shows how disconnected Stephanie White is from understanding what makes this team successful. Then came the Aerial Powers situation, where she wanted Aerial Powers to run point guard instead of Caitlin. Aerial Powers handling the ball over Caitlin Clark is the kind of decision that makes you question whether someone is actually trying to win games or pushing a completely different agenda. Now, Caitlin goes public saying she wants to play more like Luka Doncic, more ball dominance, more creativity, and more willingness to claim space and absorb contact. Meanwhile, Stephanie White has already told the world she does not like that style of basketball. She prefers ball movement and reduced usage. The tension at this point must be suffocating. Caitlin knows what works for her game because she has proven it repeatedly. She dominated college basketball playing this way. She had incredible success as a rookie playing this way. Now her coach wants to completely change her approach because of personal preferences about offensive philosophy. That is a recipe for disaster. Stephanie White can coach basketball. That is not the question. But being capable and being the right fit for a specific player are two very different things. Mike D'Antoni was brilliant, but his system did not work for everyone. Phil Jackson was legendary, but the triangle offense was not universal. Fit matters more than anything, and this fit is terrible. What makes this even more frustrating is how avoidable it was. Lisa Bluter had just stepped away from Iowa after coaching Caitlin to historic success. She understands Caitlin's game better than anyone, trusts her to control possessions, and builds systems that maximize her strengths. The Fever could have convinced her to come out of retirement. Instead, they hired someone whose coaching philosophy directly contradicts their franchise players' abilities. Sandy Brandello was available as well. She has proven she can handle star players and understands modern offensive concepts. She would not be trying to turn Caitlin into a role player. Quality options existed. The Fever chose poorly. The conspiracy theories about the league forcing this hire are starting to make sense. Stephanie White suddenly left Connecticut, citing family reasons. Then was announced as the Fever's coach just 13 hours later. That timing is suspicious. Now, she appears everywhere. Caitlin Go's team, USA events, public appearances, always in her orbit. It feels like the league wants Stephanie White attached to Caitlin's success regardless of whether it makes basketball sense. When the new CBA is finalized and the season begins, Stephanie White will have to make a choice. Either unleash Caitlin Clark or step aside. There is no middle ground left. Caitlin is returning healthy and motivated after everything that happened. If the coaching staff tries to limit her or change her game, things are going to get ugly fast. Caitlin has already shown what she is capable of when she is healthy and unleashed. She was producing numbers no one in league history had ever achieved, selling out arenas everywhere and becoming must-watch television every single night. Stephanie White wants to reduce that to a ball movement offense where everyone gets equal touches. That is absolutely insane thinking. The Aaliyah Boston experiment as the offensive hub needs to end immediately. She is an excellent player, but she is not the engine of this team. She is the rim protector, the rebounding anchor, and the pick-and-roll partner. That role is incredibly valuable. But asking her to initiate the offense puts her in the wrong position and reduces Caitlin's effectiveness. It hurts both players. Kelsey Mitchell is a solid scorer, but this is not her team either. She is a complementary piece, not the primary option. The Fever keep pretending this is some kind of democracy where everyone carries equal weight, but that is not reality. Caitlin Clark is the franchise. Everything should flow through her. Players who cannot accept that reality can request trades. The Brianna Turner situation needs to be addressed as well. She can pursue whatever causes matter to her, but if it is creating distractions from basketball, she can do that somewhere else. Seattle probably needs veteran depth. The Fever are focused on winning championships, and everyone needs to be locked into that mission. Stephanie White's comments about Luka revealed something she probably did not intend to reveal. She fundamentally opposes letting great players dominate possessions. She views that style as selfish basketball and prefers systems where the ball moves constantly and everyone gets touches. That philosophy works for some rosters. It is completely wrong for a team built around a generational talent like Caitlin Clark. Caitlin mentioning Luka was not random either. She was signaling exactly how she wants to develop her game. More ball dominance, more creativity, and more willingness to impose her will on games. That is a growth mindset from an already elite player. Smart coaches encourage that kind of development. Stephanie White has already shown that she will fight against it. The regret is going to hit hard when this situation explodes. She had the opportunity to coach a generational talent, be part of something historic, and build championships around incredible ability. Instead, she's trying to force Caitlin into her preferred system, rather than building a system around Caitlin's strengths. That is coaching malpractice. When the season starts and the Fever struggle because their offense is predictable and boring, who takes the blame?
The coach.
When Caitlin's production drops because she is not being utilized properly, who gets blamed?
The coach.
When attendance falls because the games are no longer exciting, who is responsible?
The coach.
Stephanie White is setting herself up for complete failure. This entire mess was completely avoidable. If Stephanie White had studied Caitlin's film and truly understood what makes her special, then built an offense to maximize those strengths, this could have been incredible. Instead, she is trying to impose her will and modify Caitlin's game to match her own preferences. That never works with elite players. Michael Jordan did not change his approach to fit Phil Jackson's triangle offense. Phil Jackson adapted the triangle to maximize Jordan's abilities. LeBron James never became a spot-up shooter for new coaches. Coaches adjusted their systems to leverage LeBron's talents. That is how elite players are handled. But Stephanie White apparently thinks she knows better than everyone else, better than the coaches who developed Caitlin at Iowa, better than the system that worked during her rookie season, and better than what Caitlin herself has said she wants to improve. That arrogance is going to cost everything. The regret is probably already setting in. She thought she could impose her will, make this team play her style of basketball, and prove the doubters wrong. Instead, she has created massive tension with her franchise player, revealed Fundamon.